Then after Teka, I have someone I've followed for a very long time, Akiyemi Ayonoluwa, who is a co-founder at High Tower Solicitors and Associates. You're welcome. Last but not the least is Killian Mayua. Killian is a country head, Adanam Labs. He's a programs guy. You're welcome. So together, we are going to analyze this particular topic with special attention to getting you understand the role of partnership, collaboration in whatever you are doing. Whether you are trying to use technology to do it or content-wise, partnership. So I'm going to start with Yinka because Yinka is somebody who has done a lot around partnership and the collaborations in the TV industry where you play. So to kickstart this conversation, how important is partnership and collaboration?
All right, thank you for the question. I usually don't like to be the first person to speak, but it's all good. Okay, so speaking of importance of collaboration and partnership, and I think those two things are everything. It's usually the case that you're not strong enough, you're not big enough, or you're not able enough, to pull certain things, And it doesn't mean that you personally, you're not all that. It just means that you have identified areas in which your strengths, can help other people, and where some other people's strengths can help, your own, if you want to put it that way, weaknesses, And I think it is something that we don't do as much as we should do around here. And maybe not now. Maybe when you come back to me, I can say some of the things that I feel over the years I have found as the reason why partnership and collaborations do not work around here. But I think, speaking of importance, and as well taking it to Pop Central, that is the basis on which we launched Pop Central, because we're pretty much the first platform that said, you know what, if you have an idea, come to us, we'll give you our studios, we'll give you everything, and we will work on your project together, and we will try to also sell your project. And once your show makes it and somebody sponsors it, we're going to share, the proceeds. And we've had that since 2019, and we have that until now. And that's even just one of the few things. For a lot of other things, I look around the industry, I see people that have certain know-how that probably we don't have as a young company, and we can work with them. But like I said to you, there are very clear reasons that in this few years of mine that I have found why collaboration and partnership do not work. But the only first one I'll say before I come back to it is that most of the time, most of us have not understood, clearly our own vision of what we want to do. And if you don't clearly understand yourself, what you want to do, where you want to go to, it's difficult to ask someone to follow you.
Thank you very much for that, Yinka, because I know at The Guardian, partnership, collaboration is key for us. Because as far back as 2007, 2008, we had a collaboration partnership with what you know today as the Future Awards. It used to be Young and Nigerian section in The Guardian Live. That's how it started. The section spotlighting young Nigerians doing great globally. And then that was what gave birth to the Future Awards, which is known as the Future Africa today. It's part of what collaboration can do. And that's why I want to move to Tega. You have done a lot around women in sports with the conference and pulling together women, to deliberate on some of these issues about the industry. And I must tell you, I was excited the first day I heard your voice on radio, because I used to know Aisha Falade as the only female sportscaster. Then we started hearing other people like Ada, people like Chisom Mbonu, and then all those ones. So I'm coming back to the topic of today. How has that helped in that conference about?
All right. I'm going to take a little from what Yinka said, and then I will expand on it. So, first of all, as a specific conference, so it's targeted at women's sports. And women's sports is still growing in every part of the world, but especially in Africa for many reasons, from cultural to orientation to mindset, before we even start to talk of money. Because of the fact that it's women's sports, it's not the Premier League we're talking about or the Champions League or things that people already know have money. It did not get the following I expected when I introduced it. And I realized that at first, first of all, as a media person, I know how to do everything. In fact, that's part of the problem with Yinka when you talk about collaboration. Everybody just feels like because they have expertise in one thing that they must do everything. No, the fact that I can walk, run, jump doesn't mean I should do all three. Pick a struggle and just excel at that. And so because I was a media person, the very first year I was like, I'm going to do everything now. I run campaigns for people, I know how to do publicity, I knew everything about media. I do TV shows, I do radio shows. As a presenter, as a producer, I will do everything. And so the first year, we had 15 people. You have to understand that I paid for a hall, I paid for food, I brought speakers from outside Lagos, which meant flying them in, putting them in a hotel. 15 people. Because I thought I could do everything. It didn't get the kind of, mileage I expected it to get. It didn't even impact the people I wanted to be impacted by it. And it led me to sit down with, at the time, the lady that I shared the idea with, and I said, you know what, as brilliant as we are, and as hardworking as we are, we need to get in some people. And that's what led to collaboration. Now with collaboration, first of all, you have to have value. Because if I want to collaborate with you and you don't have any value, there's no collaboration. I'd look for somebody else. So you had to have value. So it was the value side we worked on. And then I now started to partner with organizations. Even in partnering with organizations, I realized it even reduces costs. Because if you partner with somebody that is in PR, you don't have to pay for PR. All they do is they do the PR, you do your own organization. If you partner with airlines, you don't have to pay for tickets. That takes out half your logistics. So partnership, so far, I've gone from 15 people in a full cold room to about 200 people. And the reason we reduce it to 200 is because it's targeted at specific people. So we have administrators from the sports industry, we have investors from the finance sector, from telecommunications. It's targeted at specific people. It's not open to the general public. If not, we'd have thousands of people attending. And so that's what collaboration has helped us to do, to grow, to build. And now I just realized, you collaborate with one industry and they have connections all across Africa. So you're sitting in Nigeria and they're calling you in Morocco to come and speak on women's sports. And you do not know the person in Morocco. But because you've collaborated with somebody who knew somebody in Morocco, now your reach has expanded across Africa as opposed to just Nigeria. So collaboration really helped us to grow, number one, the Ladies in Sports Conference. Number two, to push for all the impact, the social impact that we wanted to make through women in sports. That's how key collaboration and partnership is. And then, of course, primarily, it helped us to reduce costs.
Thank you very much for that. And I'm happy we have a lawyer here. And Akemi, that's why I have to come to you. Because in doing this collaboration and partnerships, that's usually the legal side of it. You are a young entrepreneur thinking of working with people. What are those things to look out for in doing partnership? Looking at the legal aspect of it.
First things first, whatever you're trying to do has to be on the right side of the law. So that means you can't collaborate to do anything to offend codified rules and regulations of the society where you operate. So you have to be mindful of that. And because I work a lot in the music industry, oftentimes you find a lot of people coming together to do certain things they're not sure of, whether they will be offending certain rules. Like, for example, when I was a young lawyer about 10 years ago, I'm still young, there was a client who I had a meeting with, and he was planning to bring in X-rated adult performers to do something. And then he sought me out on Instagram, and he told me of the idea. And then I took the idea, I went to a senior lawyer to check. And then the senior lawyer told me right there that it is best I wash my hands off. And then there was a time, there was also an adult entertainer, I think his name was HOC, T Black. It was quite popular. I think he reached out to me like 7 years ago. And then what my boss told me kept ringing in my head that, is this something you want to be a part of? So at all times, if you're going into whatever collaboration with anybody, the first thing you should think is, am I going to be offending any laws? Is there anything that would affect my immediate community negatively? Also, is this something I want to associate my brand with? Some things are not clear-cut offenses, but again, they might not do justice to what you represent. So in going into any kind of relationship, you have to be mindful of that. Also, as media brands, as corporates, times when you want to jump on the bandwagon to collaborate with somebody that has a lot of reach. As we know, there are different characters on social media now who, with them just posting anything about your product, you're able to penetrate into their audience. But you also want to think long-term, that would your company benefit if these things go south? We've also seen cases where influencers go into collaboration with real estate companies, and then most recently, I think Nasboy posted a video last week, and he had to delete it almost immediately when there were comments about the real estate company being dubious. So those are some of the things I can remember right now, that if we're going into collaborations, we have to, try to see that our efforts at getting value out of a relationship doesn't help us dissipate whatever goodwill we've been able to cultivate over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to you later because we need to look at how do we do contracts and agreements on that, because sometimes you work with people, collaborate or partnership along the line. This issue of who owns what comes in. So we'll get back to you on this, but I want to go to Clean now. Clean, why is it important for independent creators and legacy media to leverage technology and collaboration to sustain whatever they do? You are in the technology space. You should be able to educate us more on this.
Okay, Teg, I'll give you an invoice for that. Smile. Thank you very much for having me here on this platform. I will start with saying that it's very interesting that one of the flagship collaborations we've had is with The Guardian. And we started last year. When I brought up the idea, everyone thought I was crazy. So I spoke to them, and we did a few things last year. We are looking forward to do a lot more. If another person had called me to come highlight what I'm going to talk about here with regards to the content of this event, I would ask them, what about logistics? What about that? My assistant will send you an invoice. But here am I, right? I've cleared my schedule for the rest of the day. So we are leaving it. And talking about technology, let's not get it mixed up. Technology on its own is zero. technology is just an enabler that when applied across different pain points, makes our lives better and enhances the outcome for everybody. Collaborating in technology, I'll give you an instance. We at Adenian Labs, we're in 5 countries. We've grown to 5 countries in 2 years. It was founded during COVID in Nairobi. We are in South Africa, TZ, Zambia, and Nigeria. And we've built over 5 tech startups across, including startups in the creative space. And what we discovered as far as collaboration is concerned, by the way, we are very Pan-African, so we're Africans first before anything else. So what we discovered with collaboration, especially in the creative industry, is that number one, there are 3 things involved. There's ideation. So you have the idea, you curate the idea, you validate the idea, you know it has potential to do something. Number 2, which is where Yinka comes in, there is the production, right? The production involves equipment, which is most of the time expensive. It involves editors, cinematographers. You have to pay these guys, they have to eat, right? And then it also involves, when you finish that, the 3rd step is, okay, let's take it out to the market. Who are you going to talk to? Which tech are you going to use? Are you going to use affiliate marketing? Are you going to use direct marketing? Are you going to use influencers? What barter are you going to get with them and all that? But then, as we speak right now, there are new technologies. I'll just mention the elephant in the room everyone knows. There's a thing called ChatGPT, and there's a myriad of them for content creators. And having worked with startups, building them from idea to product development in the tech space, and then taking it out to the market, doing marketing, collaborating with the guardians to help push our brands and all that, I have come to understand that leveraging tech tools, especially in this era of AI, is, I mean, what you could do, we used to pay someone 200, 300,000 naira to come up with a content calendar for 1 month. I used ChatGPT to produce a content calendar just plain in 2 hours for 3 months. Now, think about that. So imagine you as content creators, you come to an Adenian Labs, oh, guys, we need to be able to edit our videos fast, we need to be able to render very fast, we need cloud storage, we need to be able to push this thing across several channels. Not a problem for us. Serving 1 customer is the same as serving 10,000 customers. Now that's the kind of thing that we need to be encouraging. Yinka's experience is quite interesting in that is the hardcore, that is the engine room, that is where that is being produced. However, there are other aspects of it that if content creators, if storytellers could just understand how it is that, like Tega said, you don't have to do everything yourself. I mean, you don't have to voice yourself. There are crazy tech, and who understands that tech better? We understand the tech. I will give you 300 tech AI tools to do almost anything in the creative space right now, right here. Now, the idea that you want to sit and continue taking 2-3 months to render a movie when AWS could do it for you in a week is ridiculous. But then also, I also understand the core challenge is usually, as Yinka mentioned, and was also re-echoed, most of the time, people do not set out with clear objectives, and when they get results, they don't know if it is succeeding or if it is failing. And then also, there's also a lot of the culture of activity without productivity.
The one we call motion without movement. Thank you very much for that. And I'm going to go back to Yinka right now, and then later we'll come back to the audience. For those of you who have questions, just prepare your questions and then identify who in particular you want to answer those questions. But Yinka, you made mention of something, and that's also what I've observed. Why people don't like to collaborate. And you said a little, but I want to give you time why are people not comfortable, sharing ideas and working together on projects?
Okay, thank you. Before that, I'd like to say that, I've heard a lot about collaboration being about money and resources and everything. But I dare say that there's a much higher level to collaboration than that. In the business world, we say, oh, 10% of something is better than 100% of nothing. But you see, the thinking of collaboration really is that it's much higher than funds. You know, in this part of the world, we're not that serious with ideas. But ideas are everything. I see that collaboration starts when I have an idea and I speak to you and you get it. Do you understand? It's priceless when you say something to somebody and someone gets it. Now, that is level one. Then you now go to the next level where my organization says something, then your organization gets it. It just means that we're working together. So that's one of the things I want us to look at. First of all, it's not really about money. I mean, we have collaborated with people that didn't give us any money. But I looked at them. If you ask my team, they don't like me because of one thing. I collaborate too much as far as they're concerned. But you see, for them, they think we're strong, they think we're powerful, they think we have money, they think we can do and undo. But for me, I keep looking at us and I think, listen, we can get stronger by talking to those guys. Because there's something that maybe I know, like you said, media is also a very bad idea, because in media, your production, your agency, your accounts, your everything. But when I see someone, there was an event we did in December, and we could pull it off completely. But I went around online and found this guy, and I like, come, let's collaborate together. Let's do this together. I said, we're going to foot all of the bill, but you come and put your expertise in this. Now, I wouldn't want to mention who or not, but that is where you find the problem. When you're collaborating, you have to think of two things. You have to think of capacity and integrity. Those two things are a very, very big problem. And someone walks into my office and says, I say, let's do 4 of this. She said, no, we know how to do this. We've done it before. Let's do 12. And I'm like, no, let's just do 4. Maybe we'll get it better. Then we ended up doing the entire event, and this dude did not even come through with 1. In a bigger organization, you have maybe my team. I have 5, 6 people in my team talking to your team. On Monday we call, by Tuesday somebody is away, on Wednesday somebody is not around. Before we end up signing a simple contract of terms and services, we've spent 3 weeks doing nothing, wasting time, working with people that know nothing about collaboration or why you should even be collaborating in the first place. So I'd like us to just take it away, first of all, from money, take it to ideas. When you connect with people, when they connect back to you, and you're supposed to be ready to give capacity and integrity. So the reason why people do not collaborate, sometimes, like I said earlier, you feel like, you're up to it. You have an idea and you don't want to share it. No, if I have an idea, I've learned that, I will share it first. Because the idea gets better. But there's a mentality that, just first mover advantage. Have you heard when they say, do am if easy? A lot of things are not as easy. Yeah. It's talking about ChatGPT, AI, and everything. Yeah, if you don't have a destination, what are you going to ask the AI to do? So do am if easy. When I have an idea, I share it with somebody. I'm like, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. What do you think? It's better if you come in and make it bigger for me and bigger for all of us. So we're very selfish and we can be very greedy sometimes. And you're greedy about something that you can't even do and deliver. So that's one side of it. Then when you go to the capacity, a lot of salesmen everywhere. On Instagram, on everywhere, your XYZ, CEO, XMSA, all kinds of funny stuff. And because it's so easy to set up a business, everybody thinks, I can just set it up. I tell people, on the average, if you come to Pop Central, the amount of work my people do, most people, we've hired people from bigger TV stations and they didn't survive 2 weeks because they didn't even have our thoroughness. They didn't even have they couldn't even understand the depth of what we're thinking and why we're thinking the way we're thinking. And where we're like, all the T's should be crossed, I's should be dotted. They think it's being perfectionist, but we're not perfectionists, but we're doing it the way it should be done. So finally is integrity. A lot of people come to partner because they feel they want to get from the next person. You shouldn't be partnering because you're getting from the next person. You should be partnering because you're providing value. It should be very clear. You know, even you should never partner with somebody if you're not clear the value you're bringing on that table. Because you want free money, that's why you're partnering? No, you're going to be embarrassed at the end of the day. You know, so before we even get to technology or any of these things, you need to understand that both of you must be going in about the same direction. Both of you must understand your strengths. Both of you must understand your resources. Both of you must understand where you want to go to. And speaking to the lawyers, honestly, I won't lie. Sometimes I skip the lawyers. Not deliberately, though, because sometimes we've had contracts and their lawyer will send us legal advice, 12 pages. The real contract is 2 pages. But the legal advice is 12 pages. Then I say, at some point, I'm going to tell the guy, I say, listen, gentleman agreement, this is what I want to do. This is what you want to do. What do you think? And as a businessman, you have to also think your gut should tell you a lot. I'm telling you, your gut is never right unless you started business 3 weeks ago. You know from day one that this person is going to run away. You know from day one that this person is a liar. You know from day one that he doesn't have the capacity he claims to have. You know, sometimes your gut tells you, you know, so sometimes we skip the lawyers and agree. Then when we finish agreement, we now go to the lawyer and say, okay, just in case one of us goes out one day, please help us put this thing in order. You know, because it's not just the letter that can bind people together. I have signed agreements with people and they disappeared. You don't even see them. They don't do their part. They don't do anything. You know, so I think, like we said, don't be greedy. Don't be selfish. You need to also have capacity. Then you also have to have integrity. That's when, you know, collaboration can work.
Thank you very much, Inka.
I wanted to sneak in there with this collaboration. And the first thing I would say is a slight disagreement. Ideas are a dime a dozen. I tell people all the time, ideas are a dime a dozen. So it always comes down to execution. And so that's my own protection. When you steal an idea and you didn't understand why it came about, how it came about, you will only execute the side you saw in the proposal, Abi. And then after a while, you'll not be able to sustain. Example, when I first decided that I was going to start doing projects as opposed to just being the presenter on radio, I took my idea to this organization. I'm not mentioning name, even if you tie me to a chair and torture me. And I took it to this organization and I broke it down. And as a young person at the time, I felt I needed to sell it. So if you saw my presentation, I broke down everything to how we would spend the last naira, gave them where we're going to get our resources from. I'd already written to those people. I gave them the full thing. And the corporate communications guy was like, this thing, we've been burned before. We don't want to do this thing. We can't. In fact, I can guarantee you, I will still show it to my MDU, but we are not going to do it. So I left his office. 3 months later, I don't even know how it happened. You know, that time we used to have High TV and DSTV. So I was waiting for the DSTV to boot. That's why I went to watch High TV. Let the DSTV just boot. Let me see what is showing on the High TV. I saw my idea. Sponsored by the company. I was watching it live on TV. A few parts were missing, but, you know, it was my idea. So I picked up the phone and I called the person and he said, how do you prove it was your idea? How do you know I was not thinking the same thing? We're in the same environment. We saw the same problem. How do you think that I did not? And I had no proof. Now, I know that this is where the lawyers will come here and say, you should have done. But you see, sometimes you even protect your idea and they tweak something else about it and it becomes a completely different idea. So again, I think that's why some people hesitate to share ideas on that note. Then again, with collaboration, as much as we say, it gives you reach, like I said, it gives you mileage, and you have to have value. But you see, everything in this life comes down to naira and kobo. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Oh, I really love Real Madrid. I dreamt of Real Madrid when I was a 2-year-old. Effian, it's because they brought you $300,000 a week. That's why you're signing. Why didn't you sign for Sheffield Wednesday? Didn't you grow up down the street from Sheffield Wednesday? It always comes down to money. Always. And so people just think, if I execute this idea, all the millions will be mine. That's what it is. Small-mindedness is also another reason why people don't collaborate. If I execute this idea, we'll take all the hundred of millions. But if I bring in this person, and that, we are going to divide this money into 4 places. Not rich to buy a house. That's what they think. And the problem is, ideas that are going to bring you millions will only work on collaborations, because different people have their different areas of expertise. And as good as you are a jack of all trades, you are not a master of any. They are masters. So collaborate with the masters to get the millions. Because at the end of the day, what happens is, with that small-mindedness, you dream big, but you execute so little. And the essence and the value of what you thought is lost. So there's the small-mindedness. He's mentioned all the other ones. And there's also the fear that if I share it, like what happened to me with that organization that I cannot mention, it will be lost.
At this point, we don't have any option but to go to the lawyer, because from Yinka to Tega, to a young content creator or entrepreneur who is thinking about doing collaboration, whether with individuals, with organizations, looking at the challenges that we just pointed out to here, point us way forward to dealing with this kind of issues.
Yeah, so it's a very, very tricky subject because even outside of Nigeria, if you're just in a place and you're sharing an idea and you've not already started reducing the idea to a product or to a service that people can really, really see as, oh, this is the proof of concept for whatever idea you're thinking about. So if you take your proposal and you share it with companies and you talk to maybe your friends, and then you've not started working on that idea, there is the risk that whoever you're talking to, if they have a bigger leverage, they can go ahead of you and then implement behind your back, without your input. But it's a lot different if you've started working on your idea, and then we could see traces, we could see evidence of, oh, before you had this meeting with a certain company, you were already doing this, you had assembled a production team, there was a script already written, you guys were on location, and then, it just has to be something to show that before there was a coming together of the minds, somebody was already working. So I've seen a lot of cases where people run to the law firm after someone has supposedly jacked the idea. And then you ask all these questions that, okay, what were you doing before you went to the company? Can you show us any email trails? And the funny thing again is, a lot of corporate entities, they will not entertain sending any emails. They'll be like, oh, come to the boardroom. And then you'll be meeting with the team for the first time. Nothing to show per se how you initiated the conversation, and then how you presented the idea, and then when the meeting was fixed. But what I usually advise, if you are still at the lower end of the market, of the food chain, and you're looking for a leg in the door, try as much as you can to work on the idea to a certain level. And a lot of people should be able to appreciate what you're up to. And in fact, if that can be the vehicle to attract would-be collaborators, it's a lot better. But again, if you've already created the product up to the point that you're already selling the product, or you've created the service up until the point that people are already subscribing to the service, you'll be able to beat your chest and say, I was the first person to do this, and it was by reason of me coming to your office because I wanted to scale, because I wanted your investment, because I wanted your input to take it to the next level. That's why you had access to more information on how to take it to the next level. So again, there are certain products that by reason of you just being the first in time to create, like in tech, like in music, like in film, and many other disciplines, by reason of you just being the first person to create those things, you are automatically like the owner of the intellectual property. and then you could go to any length to defend your interest in what you've created. But again, I understand the part because I'm also a realist. We are working in Nigeria where a lot of people do not have faith in the justice system. I'm also a lawyer, man. I will do everything I can to avoid getting into any gidigbo with anybody, because I know I can be held up for so long, and in fact, the idea can become stunted, and we might not be able to commercially exploit the idea. So I'm a realist, and I think anytime you get an opportunity to, move fast, just like you mentioned, which is, we shouldn't bring the lawyer in yet, because when the lawyers come in, some lawyers who do not understand their role, it becomes a contest for, who's the bigger party, who has more ego. And then we take our eyes off whatever value we're exchanging. Yeah. And then a conversation that could have taken our clients like a day or 1 hour to, have over emails or over phone calls, the lawyers go on and about. I've seen cases where we sent contract and then the lawyer is trying to define clause by clause what should have been in the document. So I think it's a whole mix of many, many things. But we should know where we are as individuals, as corporate entities, and we should try as much as we can to exchange value. It is in the exchange that we can find sustainability and profitability. Because if everyone is trying to do it by themselves, number one, no matter how big or rich you are limited by resources. Yeah. And you would always need somebody to help you get to the next destination.
Thank you very much. Because of time, I would like to get to you, Killian, because he talked about starting small and then getting partnerships to scale up. How does technology come in at this level? How can we use technology to start that idea, and then before we get to the point of looking for partners to work with, and then add whatever you wanted to add before we take questions?
It's an interesting conversation we are having. Tega, we've had that too with MTN. We still have a case pending today. That's like 10 years ago. So it happens, right? It happens every day. Like Yinka said, I am never scared of sharing my ideas. The reason is simple. I wake up with tons of them every day. I'm walking down the street, I'm getting tons of them. And it's about, does this person get you? I drive to the mainland to sit down and just have a conversation with my guy for an hour. He gets me. He does the same. It's the same thing in circles. You have certain circles. When you start going to a certain level, you just find that you don't need to talk to certain people because they don't get it. I sit in a place where we nurture startups. Most of the time it's young people, tech startups, and they have ideas all the time. A lot of them come to the lab. By the time they come to us, they have done what we call an MVP. We validate the idea and we tell them, okay, we like your idea, but your technology is not good enough. Let's strip this thing down to zero and build it again. We have given you a term sheet. Go through it, sign the term sheet. We are taking 10 to 15%. We are giving you $50,000, $60,000 over 1 year. And it's all documented. Everything is by email. We are not allowed. The day they are coming to pitch, it's recorded. It is streamed. So there is already a conversation that is going. And as you mentioned, you should have even sent an email. But most of these people, they don't want to send emails. Like Yinka said, it's about capacity. Just because you're corporate communications for a big Fortune 500 does not mean that they have capacity. A lot of them are really good. I work with a lot of them, but a lot of them also don't have the capacity to deliver on those positions. So with technology, document your stuff. You go for a meeting, record it. Tell them you're recording this meeting so that when we go home, interestingly, the first meeting I had with Bumi, we informed him, like, okay, I'm going to record this meeting because I'll get the transcript and my team will be able to pick out the key points and the ideas that we have to work with. Oh, this call is being recorded. I'm sending you this thing via email. I can't come. Even when I go for presentation or if I am giving a lecture or someone has called me to come teach their team, I will record it so that tomorrow, if we agree that you're going to pay me or you don't pay me, it's on record. These things, and thank God with technology is ubiquitous now everywhere. You have so many ways. There are timestamps. Even with digital content, you can put timestamps. With blockchain now, you can actually record a song, a beat, and embed blockchain code into it, such that if someone even takes that beat and re-engineers it somewhere, they will know, like Spotify and the rest, that are using it. So again, it also boils down to this one thing. There's a certain level of ignorance, and the ignorance is just next to arrogance, like, okay, and naivety. So I don't think this person will cheat me. I don't think this person will take me for a ride. So there's also that. And then the ignorance part, we are trying as much as possible as a tech hub to create awareness. That's why we're collaborating with the Guardian, to create awareness on how you can use technology, especially in the creative space. We have one of the biggest studios, animation studios in Africa outside South Africa. We have one of the biggest and the only platform that is going to challenge the YouTubes and the Netflix in Africa. It's within our studio. We're building that. We also have one that will be challenging the Spotify's and the rest. And what are we telling them? African content creators, Spotify pays you dime cents on the dollar, and they pay American artists 10 times more than you. Why use them? By the way, come collaborate with us. We don't mind. Take 80% of the money. It's our cost remains the same. Whether you have streamed 1 billion, our cost is the same. Same thing with movie premieres, same thing with content platforms that people consume and the rest. So at that level, we need to look inward and figure out, and as a media house, and this goes out to Guardian, there is a need for a lot of education, enlightenment. And the interesting thing with really smart, creative people is that they don't think about these things. Yeah. They're just crazy about doing this stuff. And it goes from paint artists, singers, music producers, coders, programmers. It's the same. So we need to be able to help them. People like Inca, the Tegas, and the Guardians. No, because there's need for an enlightenment. It's got to be a move.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we'll keep running the rat race.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll go to the audience, because I am being informed that we have just 5 minutes to go. So, okay. So, questions, please. Please be straight to the point. Let's get the questions so we'll be able to take.
My name is Ugochukwuda. I'm the founder of Man United in Pidgin. So my question here is, how do you deal with unhappy collaborations, not bad collaborations? Okay, I'll give an example. Like if before, when you had a conversation with somebody
and something goes wrong,
and things were supposed to go like this,
yeah,
but it's going like this, but because the pay is really good, you just have to keep quiet and be unhappy in that state. So how do you deal with
do you have the particular person you want? Tega. Okay, Tega. Let's leave that. Yeah.
All right. I think I'm the wrong person to ask this question, because usually if things start to go left when I said it should go right, I don't care how much money it is, I'm leaving. My bills are already paid. I guess that's why you have to have multiple streams of income. But I always say this, if it is the vision you have, if you have so like Inka said, if you define the purpose of what you want to do, and it's a vision you have, if you see that the collaboration is already going south, I don't think you should follow regardless of the money, because you have a defined vision. You have a defined purpose. So if you start doing where Bele face at the end of the day, you have not fulfilled purpose. In fact, you're not even collaborating again. You're just doing what the other person wants to do. It's no longer a collaboration. You're just working for the person and he's paying you money. So unhappy collaborations are not good collaborations. And that's where you come to the lawyer.
All right, I have a piece of advice. The thing is this: we've agreed that the idea is about execution. I'm sure you know a platform called Quora. They were disgruntled employees from another platform. I will not tell you what it is. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little longer. Just before I got in here, I was waiting outside, and someone called me. Please, how do I patent an idea in tech? And I'm like, first of all, it depends on three things. Is the idea originally yours? Or is it leveraging on other technologies? Or is it a modification of an existing one? Well, I will get our IP lawyer to tell you, CAC and the IP office, they have all myriad of whatever. Those are things that we don't consider. So if the collaboration, you guys decided that you are going to prepare very crazy menu of new amala that will blow everybody's mind, and it did not go well, please, you still have the idea. Find another person. That's the only way you'll be happy. And guess what? First mover advantage is a myth. Right now, everybody uses technologies. If you build Netflix and do it better, they will come for you. Before Facebook, there was High Five, right?
Yeah.
There was MySpace and the
MySpace.
rest. So it's actually even an easier way for you to sell. So take it as a challenge. Oh, you think you are smart? I will show you that it's originally my idea.
Thank you very much. And Yinka wanted to just...
Okay, just a quick one. Like I said earlier, first of all, you need to be clear about what you want from a partnership. That's the first thing everyone should always write down. This is my part, and this is his part. My part, A, B, C, D, E, F. Clear. Now, you also must have like a timesheet, you know, like a project management situation of when you intend to achieve something. Time is more important than money even sometimes. So when your partner or whoever it is defaults the first time, I think the most important thing to do is to find out why. Because sometimes you might even be the problem, right? Now, if that is been established and this person just refuses to play their part, you need to pull the plugs on them immediately. Because the people you're serving would not come back and say, oh, it was Mr. Fidelis and X. No, 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 especially if you are the bigger brand. So you need to pull the plug on that partnership and possibly even pull the plug on that project, especially if you cannot go at it by yourself. There are no two ways around it. You're not in agreement, you need to pull the plug on it immediately.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take the next question. Straight to point.
Thank you very much. So basically, like a founder of a new startup. So we are like somewhat like an NGO. Actually, we are an NGO, but it's basically more about mental health service and that kind of thing. So we are using like modern technology and artificial intelligence and all. So now, whenever I go around, because I know that we really need collaboration. So whenever I go around, maybe on Twitter or something like that, and I pitch out my idea to people, I mean, I get a lot of people that wants to be part of the idea and they want to work on it. And now, eventually, this team is like growing in number, like really growing fast, more than I imagined. And we have no legal thing at all, And I'm actually very glad that you guys said there's we can do some kind of like digital timestamps and all of those things. So we have emails, we have documentation and project management tools we are getting we are using. Okay, so now what I want to ask is like, what kind of advice would you give someone like me going into that kind of field? Because we have product designers, developers, engineers, and all those kind of people getting into the team. So, and we have no legal involvement at all. So thank you.
You said you're an NGO.
Yes, actually, but it's like a tech NGO. It's almost like a tech startup.
A tech NGO.
Social enterprise.
Okay. Yeah, so I think because there's an agglomeration of different individuals, you can also come to that assumption that there will be different interests as you guys continue to grow. So it is best for, the entity to be properly put together, which means you would have to, create a separate entity outside of yourself and the people you are working with. And then the entity can have certain directing minds. There could be some people that are coming together as founders of the entity, through which the entity is brought to life. You know, these people are serving the best interest of the company or the NGO, and they are the ones that are making the decision to create a sustainable. NGOs are in business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not for profit.
Just
So
when you're done, I'll just tip it.
all right. So you need to put that in place so that if anything happens to anybody driving the idea, some other people can come in and continue to act. And then there could be some documentation as well to protect everybody's interest. Because you said there are project developers and the likes. So everybody has to come into some kind of agreement for their interest with the entity you've created. It could be some kind of employment contract to have in place. It could be some kind of founders contract for all the founders. Then there could also be documents to regulate behavior within the workspace. Rules that govern how everybody interacts. And also, at every point in time where you are collaborating with people outside of the organization, there should be templates or there should be contracts in place in dealing with vendors, in collaborating with maybe talent hubs or media companies. So everything we all do as human beings in some shape or form will be regulated by certain rules of engagement. And that is how you build businesses or NGOs that will be around for a long, long time. Because every documentation that will be done will be in line with the vision or the reason why that NGO was created in the first place. So if the NGO, I suppose that the NGO has certain things they would like to achieve, maybe in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Or the NGO is tilted towards certain causes. And in whatever document would be grounding the formation of that entity, it would cover in clear terms the reason for setting up this entity and the reasons for pursuing the vision. So I think with all of that, it will help you build an NGO that will be here way longer, even when you leave that to do something else. The NGO can still be in place. Other people can still carry your idea forward. Is that, you understand that?
Thank you very much. Okay, I think, I don't know if we still have time because we have run out of time already.
Okay. Just a minute. This falls squarely within my space. Let me just give you really good advice. He has said it all. But not every lawyer knows everything, right? With emerging technologies, lazy lawyers, sorry, sir, have refused to upgrade themselves. So if you take...
They're actually tech lawyers in Nigeria.
I know they are, and I know quite a number of them. And they have done that because they have taken themselves up to a certain level. There are many of them. So I'm saying, find one that is tech savvy. We could point you in the right direction because that's the kind of things we do. We have a program, I will not mention the name, which is donor funded, but they have a mechanism whereby they have partners that work with them and the arrangements are different. And then the biggest Swiss watchmaker in the world is an NGO, it's a trust. You may want to find out, I'll not mention it for cheap advert, but check out the biggest Swiss maker in the world, take time, study them, find out how they were set up. They run as a trust, and that's one thing. If there's one thing you take home, go find out about that. It will help you structure whatever you're doing better. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerian. We are going to end this session now, but because this is about partnership and collaboration, I suggest and I advise that if there are other issues you need to pick with any of the panelists, please do so. They might have few minutes to spend with you. Make use of this opportunity. Make use of it. So, on behalf of the Guardian, I want to thank the panelists for coming, and then we look forward to gathering here once again. And for our audience, thank you for staying with us. We'll keep providing opportunity for collaborations and for partnerships, and then we pray that whatever you are working on, you will be able to succeed. These are people that will give you real life lessons and experiences you need to hit that target. So thank you for having us. And then on this note, we'll sign out.